Grand Rising, good people. Let me get my tunes on real quick. Hold up. Man, I didn't even have to reset it this time, so that was good. Hold on, what? Why are my tunes not coming in how they normally come in? All right, here they go. Here they go. You know, we got to start off the show. And we're getting ready to start off. We're about to switch it up because my boy Danye Kamal just put out an album. So we finna start off the show with his music from now on. But let me get these headphones straight. Happy Friday to all. All troopers. Me and the guys ain't never been losers. Big bro Steve in the building, bright and early. It's Friday. Y'all know we come here to have a good time on Fridays. Y'all know we come here to have a great time on Fridays. Let me turn this down a little bit after I done amped it up. Let me turn it down a little bit. So what do we have today? All right, we got a whole bunch of stuff. We got the gay BCs. That's right. You heard me, the gay BCs. We're going to discuss that. We got a video that we're finally going to play. A couple different videos that people sent to me on the importance of fatherhood. We'll take a look at that. Something that I came up. How did I come across this? I came across this on YouTube where, and I don't know how I never even thought about it. Hold on. Let me make sure this is down a little bit. But I don't know how I never thought about Malcolm X's opinions on Zionism. I never even thought the two were connected. Obviously, when Malcolm X was taking a lot of trips, whether to the Middle East, Africa, you know, his pilgrimage to Mecca, when he was awakened in a way where he learned that, you know, this is what he says, you know, he learned the difference between what the Nation of Islam was teaching him compared to what he was actually witnessing happening with the diversity of all his Muslim brothers and sisters out in Mecca. And he wrote something called Zionist Logic that I want to touch on a bit. Shout out to Shy in the building. Yeah, Shy. We're going to take a look at that video you sent over. Which one? The gay BCs. Yeah. We're going to relate it to something that we saw with Joy Reid. She was on Piers Morgan. So back to Malcolm. We're going to get a little bit into that. His opinions on some things regarding that. And it's becoming interesting. Hold on, let me get these together. My bad. Hold on. You guys still should be able to hear me, but it's becoming interesting, more and more interesting. I'm now even more convinced that if we don't figure this thing out, we're on the verge of a purge. So for all those who have seen the movie Purge, I think more and more that we're getting closer and closer to that. Because this is what I was thinking. Shout out to Unc in the building. What up, Unc? So these are some of the things. And please make sure that you like, and subscribe. Maybe even send to your group chat. Did I send it to my group chat? Yeah, I sent it to them. Oh, wait. I didn't send it to them. I just sent them Grand Rising. Now they got the link. All right. So the more I was thinking about all this stuff that we talk about on a regular basis, if things get uncovered, like, okay, you have the Epstein files, and it's not just the Epstein files that are the problem. Obviously, it's a problem with what Epstein was doing with these young women, these young girls, let me be very clear, and the involvement that potentially a lot of our most powerful figures, either in politics or entertainment, took part in, to whatever degree, allegedly, of course. And the real fear is not only that they're hiding. Now, I'm not going to try to take any, like, I don't want to make it seem like the worst part of this isn't what the women, the young girls had to experience. That is the worst part, period. The shocking part of it, the other shocking part of it, is the fact that clearly something is being covered up, and it's being covered up on both sides, where clearly when there was Democratic leadership in office, they didn't want to release these things. And now with Trump being in office, who ran and campaigned on releasing the Epstein files and having transparency, clearly he's hiding something. Clear. I don't think we need to debate on that. The scary part is that if they're hiding something, then obviously it's either demonic, something illegal, something that would embarrass them, something that violates a lot of the principles that America stands on, maybe the world stands on, whatever. If they're hiding these things, and once they get uncovered, what do people tend to do when we get caught doing something that's wrong? What do people tend to do? We tend to try to justify it. We tend to try to rationalize it. So if we have a bunch of corruption being uncovered, you think the people in power are just going to say, oh, you got me. I'm so sorry. Let me step down. Let me give away all my power. I don't deserve to have this. I don't think that that's realistic. I don't think that's realistic at all. What I think is going to happen, excuse me. It's probably I don't know what it is. Going from the Florida weather to Jersey, maybe that's it. But I don't think that they're just going to give away their power. I think that they're going to double down. They're now going to be backed into a corner where they feel they need to do something. And I think one of the things that they're going to plan on doing is opening up the crime to other people. Oh, other people commit these acts. Other people. Matter of fact, we need a crime cleanse. We need to all be allowed to green light and do whatever it is that we want and purge all of this out of our system, because we all think about it. It's something that we're all whatever. I really think that that's what's going to happen. So that's what I'm scared about when it comes to this purge. So let me kind of get back to, I'll give you kind of a rundown of what we're going to discuss on the show. We still have this Paul Pierce and Dr. Cheyenne Bryant conversation. Probably won't get into that. We're going to update you on some things that are happening in Israel. They had a strike on a Catholic church. Donald Trump was asked his opinion on it. We'll see. We'll dive into that. I have a take on Israel and Jewish people in general and why they've been, how can I put it in a nice way? Just being totally honest, why so many countries have wanted to try to kick them out of their countries. I have an interesting take on it. And I think it's based on Jewish people just being too good at business. Jewish people being what everybody else tries to be when it comes to uniting, working together as a group. What was Nipsey Hussle? How am I relating Jewish people to Nipsey Hussle? What was Nipsey Hussle's slogan? All money in, right? All money in. What was that about? That was about, this is our group. You know, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our group first and foremost. A lot of people could say it's a nationalist approach, but when you're in another nation, like a nationalist approach is cool, but the problem that comes about and the friction comes when you have a nationalist approach to your group of people in another nation that directly contradicts what a lot of those nations will say, them thriving, or it may threaten their power structure because you're so good. It happens in business. It happens in a lot of other places where, I'll give you an example. There's a reason why Cam Newton, his career was cut short. He's too good of a backup. He's too good, where it's now going to conflict with the power of the first QB1, the starting quarterback. Now people are going to be questioning whether nobody in power likes to have other powerful people around that may not do things the exact same way or that don't pledge their allegiance directly to that person. Just is what it is. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this Piers Morgan interview with this lady that I believe is considered the godmother of Zionists. We'll actually probably start with that interview because I think that'll set the tone of the entire combo moving forward. We're going to try to get to that Nick Fuentes conversation with Candace Owens, debate, interview, whatever it is you want to call it. And then we'll finish up with Joy Reid, Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan was pretty harsh on Joy Reid, and they had a conversation about why she was kicked off the air. Joy Reid, to some people, may be playing the race card. I actually agreed with certain things that she was saying. However, there's also some things that I didn't agree. And I think that some of her more radicalized stances on things. For example, I'm going to show you guys a clip of her interviewing, I believe, the head of the Moms for Liberty, where they were trying to get some of these books out of the school system that were having sex toys, very explicit to the kids, how that has led to this recent clip that Shy sent over, where we're now in Barnes & Noble, and Barnes & Noble, it seems, has become the new target because now they're pushing and highlighting all of these books that, in my opinion, are a bit inappropriate. So I'm all over the place with that. Hopefully I gave you a little bit of everything, but we'll start off with this interview. Let me make sure I don't have any comments. Hold on. Unc said, so you're talking about the Fed chairman. I don't know, Unc. Am I? I don't know what what's the Fed chairman? Did I miss something? I'm not sure, but let's get into this interview. And you guys give me your thoughts and opinion. And let me warn you, this is a little bit of a tough watch. It's a little bit of a tough watch because seeing her, to me, like, drains all the hope out of peace in the Middle East and maybe anywhere in this world when we hear people like her. But I may surprise y'all with my response to it and how I try to draw a connection. I'm not sure. I was talking to Maya earlier. I'm not sure if I'm going to draw the exact connection because I don't think that we'll get into it when we get into it. We'll get into it when we get into it. Take a look. I'll be over here. Y'all make sure y'all like, and subscribe. And I'd love to hear y'all thoughts.
Ambition I put into positive things. I mean, when people have to move from one place to another, it's not a question of ambition. I think there is no choice now, especially after the massacre of the 7th of October. The Gazans finished their chapter of history in Gaza, and they will have the terrorists themselves will be killed in the attacks of the Israeli army, of Tzahal, and those who support them will have to go to emigrate to other countries. And I think as far as people who want to live normal life, I think the option to go to other countries in the world is a good option. But it's not a question of ambition. I have an ambition to settle Jews all over the vast areas of the land that was given by God to the Jewish nation. So this is my ambition. And in the midst of things...
Can I rewind that last part?
But it's not a question of ambition. I have an ambition to settle Jews all over the vast areas of the land that was given by God to the Jewish nation. So this is my ambition. And
the land that was given to Jewish people. You know, see, this is the problem that I have with religion that comes up where, and this is why I feel like you always need an update. You need an update for religions. Because if I have a conversation with somebody, and let's say my last name is Caldwell, and I'm talking to Maya, her last name is Bunch, right? And I say, hey, I'm pledging my allegiance, to the Bunch family on this day, and moving forward. I just want to make sure that when we merge, our families together, and now we're pledging our allegiance to each other, the Caldwells and the Bunches. If 1,000 years from now, the Caldwells or the Bunches, let's say, or there's another group of Bunches that doesn't even really have to do with this group of Bunches, but there's a total another different group of Bunches that are in California or wherever else. And now they're doing. I shouldn't have thrown it on the bunches. Let me see. Let's do a different name, but let's say it was another group of Jacksons. Yeah, it was the group of Jacksons. I pledge my allegiance to a group called the Jacksons right now. But then the Jacksons, 200 years from now, they're doing certain demonic things. Let's say another 200 years, 400 years from now, they're leading a sex trafficking ring or something, doing some Epstein type of stuff. And then they go back and look at what I wrote 400 years before and say, hey, I'm pledging. Oh, no, we have to support what the Jacksons are doing. We have to support them because, that's what my family said. It says support the Jacksons. Now, you can imagine what happens with this when it's 2,000 years down the road. It could be an entirely different group. It could have evolved into an entirely different group of Jacksons, or conveniently, another group could say, you know what? We're just going to call ourselves the Jacksons. So that way that group is always, they always have to support us because, our name's the Jacksons. Now, I'm just throwing different things out there that could have happened. When you have a woman that goes on TV and truly believes wholeheartedly that God gave her land, is there anything that anybody can say to convince her otherwise? Is there anything that any rationalization or justification that she wouldn't make in order to remove whoever is on that land from that land? So when we hear about October 7th and we're sitting here wondering, well, damn, y'all got some of the best defense forces. How did people come over here on hang gliders? Here, y'all can grab missiles out the air, but hang gliders? That's what, and then there's no response in an area that, based on what I'm hearing, it seems as if this is one of the most highly militarized and protected area, and there was no military response. And then when people have questions saying like, yo, it seems like did Netanyahu, did he know about this? It comes out that they were warned about it. And it's like, well, did he allow this to go on to justify some sort of retaliation effort? Now, people would say that that's crazy, right? Like, who would allow their people to get killed and kidnapped in order to justify doing something to another group? But then when you hear people like her speak, there is no, they will rationalize and justify anything because they believe that God gave them a particular piece of land. Now, she said the vast area, I believe, and excuse me if I'm misquoting her. She said the vast area of land that was given to her and the Jewish people by God. She really believes that. Now, there was another interview with her that I watched in the past where she was saying that people like her lead the efforts on doing the things and saying the things that Netanyahu and the Israeli government can't say. But she's going to do it because that's the same thing that Netanyahu wants to do. But because he's leading a nation, he can't say these type of things. He can't say, these are my motives. My goal is to take back all of the land that God promised us, or to take the land. I shouldn't say take back, because who knows if you occupied it at all in the first place, you and your people. Just because it was Jewish or Semite people doesn't mean it was you and your people. Just being totally honest. So when she speaks on taking back this land, is there any room for debate? Like, are you guys not sold that, oh, this is a bigger play? They want more than just the New Jersey size Israel, a piece of land out there. They want more. This is about a bigger play to get more land, just like most real estate developers. What do most real estate developers want? They want more land to develop. If they see opportunities in other places, they're trying to figure out a way, how can I get that land so I can develop it, so I can conquer it, so I can make it mine, so I can make money off of it, and so that I can build a bigger part of Israel. This is just the logic of where my mind goes. I'm not sure how everybody else thinks, but let's keep going with the video, and you guys tell me what you got. Or matter of fact, you don't have to feel You don't have to feel the need to tell me. I know that this may be a controversial issue that a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about. I even said that I wasn't going to talk about it, but you know what? Tucker got me inspired. Tucker got me inspired because he reminded me that although a lot of people say that they're religious, they say that Jesus is their Lord and Savior, or whoever their prophet is of choice, and that they shall fear no evil, and because they have God and all this other stuff, right? Stop it. You're scared to call out what's wrong. You're scared to speak on what you believe is or what I think most people would say is aligned with your religious principles, your godly principles. People are scared to do it. People are scared to do it. So, and this is the same conversation that I've had with a lot of people in my life on different topics where it's like, yo, do you feel like you got to be the one to speak out about it? And it's like, well, if everybody just embraces that mentality, then who's going to speak out on it? Who's going to say something? And honestly, you're dimming my light when you say stuff like that, because I don't want to move around in fear, how you may be comfortable moving around. All this stuff that y'all taught me when y'all were trying to bring me up in church and all this stuff, I shouldn't fear anything. But then when you grow up and you see these grown people that you looked up to and you held them in such a high regard, and then you see they're scared to speak on certain things that are, it's like, damn, no wonder we were enslaved in this country. No wonder we were sitting here for 400 years and being seen as less than humans. I doubt that they could have done what they did to black people in America to a group of Palestinians, just being honest. So all these questions kind of come to my mind, all these thoughts come to my mind. And this is why I just say, yo, I'm going to speak out on it. It's not to cause any chaos. It's actually to hopefully get us to open up our eyes enough to where we cannot be confused into getting into more chaos. That's it. That's it. No animosity. No animosity. It does get a little bit frustrating of sorts, because what ends up happening when you scare somebody? Just like you see Donald Trump right now. I don't know if y'all have noticed that with Donald Trump, he's been cursing a lot. You know, first he started cursing when he said they don't know what the F they're doing. Then I feel like he's cursed a couple more times on Truth Social and these different things. And it seems like it's becoming more casual, him cursing. And that's the frustration setting in mind. That's the frustration setting in my opinion. Donald Trump, if you read a lot of his books and you learn about how his dad taught him to be, why he doesn't smile, not to show emotion, it's a weakness. Well, the cursing is showing emotions as well. So that can be perceived as a weakness as well. But because he's getting so frustrated, and what would frustrate Donald Trump to the point where he violates his own rules? He's being controlled. Somebody who probably saw himself, a lot of people will say he's a bully. So just to keep that analogy, or to keep that in mind, we'll use the term that the bully's now being bullied. Donald Trump is no longer in control, and he knows it, and it's frustrating to him. And what's even more frustrating is that people are calling him out on it. Because what's worse than people looking at you as the toughest guy in the world, but now they see like, oh, nah, you getting bullied by that other person. Like you being there's other words that I could use, but that's very frustrating to deal with. So let's keep going. You guys let me know what you guys are thinking, and we'll go from there. And let me make sure that I catch up. I'll catch up with some of your comments as well when we get back.
In the midst of things, with the attacks of Arabs in different periods of history, and especially I emphasize now the last attack, the last massacre.
And real quickly, so you said, so where should those Palestinians come to America? And I don't know if y'all peeped in the beginning of what she was saying. She said that the people that support Hamas, they are no longer going to be able to live there. Ma'am, I believe that most of the Palestinians did not support Hamas. Probably, I don't know if the only reason why I say did not instead of do not is because based on what I'm hearing, based on these reports and everything else, and common sense, you guys are radicalizing more people in Palestine. When you commit a genocide on their people, do you think that more people are going to be, you're pretty much recruiting people into Hamas. You're recruiting people into more of these radical type of mindsets, or recruiting them to embrace the more radicalized religious approach to certain things. That's what you all are doing. And that's what always happens. It's almost the same way that people who get sexually abused, the numbers show that they're more likely to abuse others. This is exactly what has happened between Israel and Palestine. Jewish people, Israel, they feel that they were abused, or they were abused in the Holocaust, feel that they've been abused by other countries that have been trying to kick them out of their country. So what do they end up doing? The exact same thing to Palestinians, but they justify it and rationalize it in different, oh, well, it's because of this, they did this. Yeah, well, y'all kicked them out of their land. I know God gave it to y'all and gifted it to you in particular, right? I know God only gifted land to you all. I know that you live in, a lot of y'all live in America, and I assume that you think that God gifted this land to you as well, because since you guys are very good at history, because you can recall having land dating back to 3,000 years ago, I'm assuming that you can do the history from 500 years ago and know that the land that you're living on in America was taken by somebody else. But I guess that land wasn't given by God. Only the land that you all want to occupy in Israel was given to you by God. You see the hypocrisy coming and setting into play? So now, when you guys commit a genocide on Palestine, what do you think Palestinians now, what do you think their mindset is going to be now to you all? Yeah, they're going to call you little Satan and call America big Satan. Of course, look what you're doing to them. Everything has a reaction, right? If I drop a basketball, I expect it to bounce. It's a reaction to me dropping it with the gravity. I don't understand how we're not seeing this. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Manifest destiny. Correct. The definition was that it was God-given. People need to look up what manifest destiny really means and what that entire movement was, and how you had the ability to, and this is even, I believe this is with Christian culture as well, where if you weren't, let's say you went to a land, Christopher Columbus, you went to a land that didn't already practice your particular religion, your particular type of Christianity. If those people didn't practice your brand of religion, then you were allowed to conquer that land. This is why I don't respect religions. I respect spiritual people. I respect people that live by the golden rule of treating others the way that they want to be treated. But I do not respect religions. I love Jesus, because sounds like to me, when I read about and learn about Jesus, it sounds like Jesus didn't really respect religions. Sounded like Jesus was calling out a lot of the BS with religions, just like I hope I'm doing right now. You can't hide behind a religion while your religion commits some of the biggest atrocities in world history. You can't not acknowledge those things and then sit back and wonder why people hate you, and then play the victim as if people didn't just commit these genocides, these atrocities, stealing people's land for hundreds, thousands of years in the name of religion, and justifying it because people just didn't see the world and live life how you wanted to and accept your Lord and Savior. When, to be honest, y'all don't even accept your Lord and Savior. You don't live like Jesus. You don't live godly. You don't behave godly. Nobody would ever know that you're Christian unless you announce it, because you don't live by it. You don't live by Christian values. You don't stand on Christian principles. Just being honest. That's why you got to put a jersey on. If you got to wear a jersey that says, hey, good person, are you really a good person? Just wonder. All right. Unc wrote, I myself believe in the understanding of self and manifesting that self into a higher being and higher knowledge vibration is the key, nephew. I'm with you. I'm with you, Unc. Let's keep going.
Civilian population. That was the end of the history of the Gazans in Gaza.
But there are...
It doesn't have to do with ambition.
Okay, there are 2 million.
Now, also notice how she's causing them Gazans. And I think Pierce is going to address this later on. I'm not sure if we'll get to it. But she's not saying Palestinians. She's saying Gazans. Just peep that.
People living in Gaza, half of those people are under 18 years of age. More than 20,000 Gazan children have now been killed since October the 7th.
And hold on. Let me I want to do something very quickly because I don't want y'all to think that, well, Pierce just got this random lady on this show. Like nobody's really thinking like this. This is what happens. People allow radical people. See, people that are scared to be radical but have the same beliefs as radical people, what they'll do is they'll support in silence a lot of these people. They'll allow them to do certain things that they're scared to do themselves. So I respect her in a lot of ways for going on Piers Morgan and voicing her opinion, because there's a whole bunch of other people that we come across in our day-to-day lives that smile in our face, that we say are our family, our friends, and they think the same way that she's presenting herself, but they will never allow you to know it. And matter of fact, it only comes about during situations like an October 7th, where you'll see from then on, it kind of like creeping out certain things where you'll peep the elitism come out in different ways. So I want y'all to be aware of who exactly this person is. So Daniela Weiss, let me ask ChatGPT, who is Daniela Weiss, mother of Zionism? And let me share the screen real quick. Hold on. Let me share the screen. Is this ChatGPT? All right, here we go. Let's take a look at who she is. And because a lot of people may be sitting back like, she's just a nut job, like she's just a one-off. Let's actually take a little dive into it. Daniela Weiss, also spelled Daniela or Danielle, is a prominent and controversial figure in Israel's far-right Orthodox Zionist settler movement, sometimes referred to as the godmother of the movement. Born in 1945, early activism began after the 1967 Six-Day War. She joined Gush Emunim, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, a religious nationalist settlement movement, eventually becoming its secretary general. So this is Weiss champions the view that Jewish settlements are a form of returning to biblical Zion. She has stated that expanding settlements is a way to return to Zion and to close the option for a Palestinian state. All right, so just so y'all know, she's a pretty popular person. I just didn't want y'all sitting here thinking, I mean, obviously Pierce is interviewing her, but Pierce can get anybody on the show, you know, to just get up and say certain things. So let me make sure that I'm catching up with. Unc said, a much better man than my soul, said the devil himself, said dazzle them with glitter and move between the shadows. Unc, where's that from? Is that biblical or is that just Unc knowledge? Either way, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. All right, let's keep going.
My follow-up question is, how many of the innocent Gazans, how many of the Palestinian children do you think should come to, say, Israel and to be allowed to settle there?
To settle in Israel?
Yes.
Why?
Why? If you're going to tell them, if you tell them to leave, well, because if you tell them to leave their home, and you say that they should live in other countries, why would Israel not want to provide a home for them?
No. Because the conflict between Israel and the Gazans brought this chapter into its end. We don't take any chance anymore. Many soldiers told me some of them from my own family, that they were witness to so much talk and propaganda against Israel. And I think that there shouldn't be anymore any touch, any connection with between the Gaza population and the Jewish state. Let them be in other countries. There's 100 million Egyptians in Egypt, so there will be another 500,000 Gazans in Egypt, and some will be
Okay,
in
but what
Indonesia.
if
All right, so the first thing that comes to mind, but I'm going to be respectful. So I'll say, who does this woman think she is? Who does this woman think she is? She just said that there's 100 million Egyptians, so there'll be another 500,000. This is what I tell you. I'm glad that people like her, that they are platformed, because without people like her, perhaps people could hide behind all the other reasoning that they give for why Palestinians, there shouldn't be a two-state solution. There shouldn't be. And I'll be totally honest with y'all. The more I've learned, and what I'm now doing a little bit of a deeper dive into, is understanding who was behind the Zionist movement. Why, what was Britain's, what was their involvement? Why did they want to push for an Israeli state? Why did a lot of these countries that tried to kick Jewish people out of their country, that were intimidated by a lot of the Jewish people being in their country, why did they want to push for an Israeli state? All of this stuff, all these things, this is why history is so important, because without understanding history, I think we would all be lost. Because as I'm sitting here, I'm still lost as to, like, what would make this lady believe? Like, she really thinks that God gave her and her people land. Do y'all realize how insane that is? Do you realize how insane that is? That to think that God gave a certain group of people land, and it's like, that is inconsistent with everything that I've learned about God. But this is what it's being used to justify, and this is what America has allowed and encouraged, because let's be honest, this is not a Jewish thing. And I think we're going to get into a video later with, is it Jeffrey Sachs? I believe the guy, I think his last name's Sachs, where he exposes America's involvement in a lot of this stuff and calls out Barack Obama and a 2011 decision, I believe it was a 2011 decision that he made that fired up a lot of this chaos that we're now seeing come to fruition. America is not innocent in this. There's a reason why America wants Israel to be Israel. There's a reason why. Let's just look at it. Let's just take a step back. Take a step back and look at this from a sensible standpoint. I know that we live in America, it's diverse and all this other stuff, but let's be real. America is a European country. It's a white European country. That's what it was founded on. Those are the principles. Y'all hear me say it all the time. I'm a proud American. I'm in America. I'm really hoping to do the work to push America as much as I can possibly push on my end to where I think it would be a greater place, where it keeps its promises or whatever, the pursuit of happiness, all this stuff, where it can create as much of an opportunity, an American dream for all different types of people. That's just part of my purpose. Doesn't have to be part of everybody's purpose. That's just part of mine. But being real and understanding, like, if I want to get somewhere, I first have to understand where I'm at and why am I there. America is a white European country. So I don't have to be a brain surgeon for me to look at the Middle East and say, oh, this area is rich in oil, rich in a lot of other resources. I can make a lot of money here. I can develop this area, but I need somewhere to like put my boots on the ground, right? It's just like me in Miami. I can't be in Jersey trying to put plays together in Miami. I gotta go live out there. I gotta be around the people. I gotta be able to put things in motion. I gotta have people connect with people that are from that area. I gotta connect with people that are willing to put roots in that area. So then 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 500 years from now, then we'll start to grow and I'll have more of an influence in that area. This is just common sense logic. There's no other white countries in that area. So if America can strike a deal with people who are living to be surrounded by their enemies, right? Now, whether that's self-inflicted enemies or however else you want to put it, that's another debate. But if people are willing to live around their enemies, and if I can make a deal with them and I can do it from the comfort of America, yeah, let's do it. Oh, what, y'all need some guns? Who are we going to be killing? Are we going to be just killing? Oh, y'all going to do the killing? All we got to do is give y'all the guns? And every once in a while, send in some troops. Every once in a while, do a little airstrike or something like that, you know, to flex some American muscle. But the threat of American muscle is so big that just us showing our support will intimidate most of these countries. Oh, yeah, let's do it. It's going to bring in billions, trillions of dollars, and billions just for me and my family person. Oh, yeah, we'll do that. We'll take that deal. Do we kind of see how all of this stuff happens? If we're just being realistic. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And my fault. Steve wrote something very good earlier. I wanted to bring that up. Steve wrote, following the concepts found in the Bible through a personal relationship with God and being religious are two completely different things. I 100% agree. This is why I'm not religious, because what you're describing, I don't see as religion. What you're describing is spirituality. Spirituality is your relationship with God, your connection with God, and everybody else for that matter, in my opinion. But when you have religious on it, then just from my observations and what the biggest and most influential religions have done is they've used that control that comes with religion, because religion inserts a middleman into that relationship between you and God. Religion is the middleman that controls, you know, how you're going to have that connection with God. That's where religion comes in, to where they're now able to manipulate your mind and manipulate you into thinking that certain things are rationalized and justified based on this connection, because the middleman, they speak to God. You ever try to do a deal with somebody and somebody's in the middle and it's like, yo, are you playing both sides? Or are you, like, it seems like it. That's exactly what's happening. You ever try to buy, you go to buy a car and the salesperson, oh, well, you know, I'm working for you, you know, but let me just talk to the big boss, the GM, you know, make sure that that's okay with your deal. They may not even go. They probably go sit there and have a coffee, go to the bathroom, and then come back to you and say, yeah, man, the boss said like they can't budge on it. They can't. This is what's happening when it comes to religion. Religion is man inserting themselves in the relationship and connection between another man and God. That's how I see religion. And the type of man that would want to insert themselves into the relationship between other people and God, those are the type of people that are going to use religion for evil things. And I would say that that's just my opinion, But when you look back on history, what has happened? Wasn't slavery created with religion? What was the first slave ship that came over from Europe to America? The Jesus Lubbock. Look it up. The name of the first slave ship that came over to the Americas was named the Jesus. Why are there so many Arabs in the Middle East and North Africa? Because the Arabs, they conquered in the Arab slave trade, doing the same exact thing that, well, they pioneered it, I guess you would say. They did it for a lot longer and a lot more viciously than what the Europeans did when they came over to America with the transatlantic slave trade. Manifest Destiny, you just heard Maya talking about it. They're going to Asia, going to all these places. What good? Let me ask y'all this. I think it's very clear from my standpoint, but do you think religion, the good has outweighed the bad? And before you answer that question to yourself, do you think that when it comes to religion, good has outweighed the bad? If you say yes, I'd have to question, or I want you to question yourself and say, is that coming from an elitist standpoint? Am I also factoring in all the people that were killed in the name of Christianity, all the people that were killed in the name of Judaism, all the people that were killed in the name of Islam? I know you weren't killed because you're here watching the show. I know a lot of your family members may not have been killed because you're living in the comforts of America. So perhaps you can't properly empathize with other people who have been, who our religion has been the devil to. And I'm saying America overall. The fact that we're sitting here questioning or getting upset why people in Iran allegedly call America the big Satan, Israel the little Satan, it's such an elitist standpoint. Well, yeah. Look what America calls people who meddle in our politics, who meddle in, just from a political standpoint. How do a lot of Democrats talk about Putin in Russia? Oh, they're killing people. They're dictators. They're all this other stuff. Are we so stupid and naive to think that people aren't disappearing in America who go against the American government? See, we only listen to the American news. So therefore, who is the American news controlled by? The people who are in power in America. So I wonder what the news in other countries, people who are not forced to do certain things by American powers, I wonder the news that they're hearing when they hear about some of the stuff that goes on in our country and people just mysteriously dying and showing up. But we don't ever think about that because we are privileged enough to where we don't have to look at that perspective. I'm just asking questions, though. I'm just asking questions. Steve wrote, the U.S. has given Israel more than $300 billion since 1948. You know what I would call that from an American standpoint? An amazing investment. The U.S. has given Israel more than $300 billion since 1948. From an American perspective, not my perspective. You know what I would call that? An outstanding investment. That's like getting in with Tesla or Google on the ground level when they were trading for pennies. That's the equivalent. I don't know if they were really ever trading for pennies, but y'all get what I'm saying. That's what 300 billion. Do we know how much money? And hold on. And what we also got to identify, Steve, is that most of those 300 billion was written out by our government to go to who? It didn't go to Israel. It went to to stimulate our weapons economy with all the people that make weapons, American weapons, and then we just gave them the weapons. So it's an even better investment from America's standpoint. This is why America's locked in with Israel. It goes back to what Queez always says, follow the money. We can sit here and say that it's racist. I'm sure there's certain racial components to it. But powerful people, they're just worried about making more and more money. And they're definitely aligning with groups that they can control. Americans know damn well they can't control any of those Arab countries out there the way that they can work with Israel and have that working relationship. They would never have that with those Palestinians because America wants to control everything. They would never have that. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And my fault. I know I'm talking over a lot of these comments. And hold on, let me real quick. So Unc wrote, hold on, I thought I saw something. Say this is how they make. Okay, this is where the billionaires make all that quiet money. Yeah, I'm gonna write a gift certificate where, as the government, I'm gonna spend US dollars. I'm gonna fake give it to Israel, but it's really going to private businesses in America. So then when I'm done in the public sector of government, or while I'm in government, whatever else, I mean, you think about a Nancy Pelosi. I believe Nancy Pelosi's salary is like $200 and something thousand a year. And she's worth like almost $200 billion. I'm sorry, almost $200 million. How does that happen? They use public funds, American tax-paying dollars, to spend the illusion of giving it to another country, whether it's US aid or whatever else they got going on. They use that money to give to other countries, but what they're really doing is giving the country the product while they give the money to private businesses in America. So those private businesses, which obviously it's like when you spend money at the like the Bronx, you go to these hospitals, these vet hospitals, they'll spend top dollar on all your products because it's the government money. So they'll spend top dollar on all these weapons, all these products that they need, that Israel needs for their military or other countries, that whether Ukraine, all these different countries. Top dollar. So the country, the businesses, what do you think they're gonna do? Of course they'll give Nancy Pelosi millions. Of course they'll give Ted Cruz millions. You're making me billions and trillions. I'd be a fool not to give you millions. I'm just saying. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong with all this. I could be wrong.
Okay, but what
in
if
other countries?
Okay, but if I suggest that we carve out an area of Israel to put the Palestinians, we just slice off. Let me finish. We slice off an area of Israel, and all the Israelis who currently live there have to leave and go and live in another country. Are you happy about that? Would you be happy with that?
You have some. You have some psychological need to slice pieces of the tiny state of Israel.
No. I'm just saying.
What's this need?
Listen. Gaza, as you know. Well, hang on. Let me finish. Gaza, as you know, is a very small territory. I'm talking about a similar sized territory.
Is what? Gaza is what?
I'm talking about. It's a very small territory.
Gaza is what?
Gaza is very small.
And I know.
So I'm talking about taking
Indonesia.
Hang on. I'm talking about taking.
Africa is big.
Let me finish. I'm talking about taking the Gazan people.
Yo, she just said Africa is big. Send them sand niggas to Africa. That's what she just said. Send them sand niggas to Africa. Yo, don't y'all think it's kind of wild that she is so comfortable saying these ridiculous, radical, wild things, but we're scared to say, hey, I'm not okay with what's going on in Palestine. Like, Don't y'all find it kind of crazy? This is why they feel so comfortable saying stuff like this. Who is they? Who are you talking about they? I'm talking about people who say shit like she says. Excuse my language. She's up on Piers comfortable. Comfortable. Meanwhile, we're scared to say, like, hey, I'm not comfortable with 50,000, women and kids dying. Like, I'm not okay with that. Like, it just, this response, it's a little much. You're anti-Semitic.
The innocent Gazan people, not Hamas, but innocent Gazan people. And I'm talking about taking a piece of Israel and removing all the Israelis who currently live there and sending them off to other countries. And then you put the Palestinian people in that space in Israel. How would you feel about
that? It's not a question of feel. It's not going to happen.
Right.
But
why would that be wrong? Why would that be wrong, Mrs. Weiss? Why would that be wrong?
Because it failed. We left Gaza in 2005, and we were promised that Gaza will be Singapore. And I didn't believe in it, but many Israelis did believe in it. And it turned into hell. Upper hell, down, lower hell, hell. And I think no more experiments. We are not a laboratory. We are a nation that wants to live in the land that was given to us, to the Jews, by God.
But you actually,
Yeah, so you know how, and shout out to my brother Bug in the building. I saw Bug come on earlier. But yeah, Maya, an absurd exercise. You know what's wild? And I think we all do this. And this is why I say that the energy just seems to change when it comes to talking about Israel and Jewish people. When a police officer does something, when it's a Trayvon Martin, when it's a George Floyd, what was the rallying cry? Defund the police, right? So one police officer, or let's say two or three, in the George Floyd situation, kills George Floyd, right? And we're just going to go with the story that was presented to us. We're not even going to factor in George Floyd with the fentanyl. We're not talking about that right now. The response is to defund the police, not to fire those police officers, not to indict those police officers, but above that, to defund the police. This is what a lot of Democratic politicians were screaming, actually did. And a lot of times, and even California, we've heard, I think, even in Kathy Hochul, who was talking in New York, governor of New York, talking about defund the police. Then they started complaining afterwards, like, we don't have any funding for the police. But pay attention to their initial response. So there can be a few bad apples, and it ruined the entire batch when it comes to police. But I don't ever hear any people putting pressure on Jewish people to address certain things that people are doing in the name of Judaism. Is it different? I guess so. I'm sure people are probably thinking about it. Let's think about it. What's different about it? I don't hear a lot of people coming out, politicians, and I have to say, if they are doing it, they are on the Democratic side. I got to acknowledge that. Well, no, I can't say that because there's Republicans that push the American First movement where they don't want to fund Israel. So I can't just say that. But I don't hear a lot of people coming out and saying defund Jewish people. Well, what do Jewish people all have to do with Israel? Well, what does my bro, who's a sheriff, has to do with Derek Chauvin? But y'all made sense of that logic. So is it all stupid logic, or is one just stupid because you don't want to call out a particular group? Me, if you ask me, I think it's all stupid logic. However, I do believe that if it helps improve the culture of policing, that the quote unquote good cops should call out the bad behavior. Now, do I think that the bad behavior of a few cops, that all the other cops should be lumped into that? Absolutely not. Just like I don't feel that the bad behavior of Israel or any Jewish people or any other group of people for that matter, whether it's Muslim, whether it's whatever, let's just talk about the Jewish people. I don't think that what's going on in Israel, what I believe is a genocide, that Jewish people should be held accountable for that. Now, do I think that there's a somewhat of an onus and responsibility for them to speak out against it? I do. That's just the type of person that I am. That's what I would do. That's why I don't like being a part of different groups. That's why I didn't like doing the whole frat thing. Like, it just wasn't me. I'm just like, nah, I don't like being a part of different groups. Y'all know what I rep. I rep OG, like something that I don't, I never was into that. The whole gang stuff just never, like, it can be exciting for all of us, especially if it's like, your friends that you're growing up with, cool. But groups like larger national, I just was never into that. Just being honest. And Boogie Boog, shout out to Boog. He just said you shouldn't be punished because your sibling is misbehaving. I agree. Now, what I'm saying is there a responsibility to speak out against certain things if you know that you benefit from some of these? Let me give you an example. If Jewish people benefit from a lot of what Israel does, and if you want to reap the rewards of what a particular group is doing, but then want to disassociate yourself with them when they do something wrong and be quiet, I have an issue with that. And to Ans's point, I do still hold my brother accountable for being wrong. And I'm glad that you highlighted that. And that's the responsibility that I think that people need to take. You can't just rep a particular, like, how can I walk around repping a particular group? Like, if I rep a group because it's beneficial for me to rep them and it's beneficial for me to promote them, but then when that group does something despicable, I'm just quiet. I don't move like that. Me, I would call it out. It is what it is. Malcolm got killed for stuff like that. So maybe that's the wrong move, but that's just what I would stand by. Let's keep going.
The Arabs, the Gazans don't want it.
Yeah, but
I don't want to be an experiment, a laboratory with experiments on the Jewish people.
No, so you've made it clear. You think it would be...
I answer you very...
Let me skip ahead real quick.
Please help me. Please, what I want to address you normally as two people who speak.
Call me Piers,
so
it's
Piers
fine.
Morgan, this
Call me
is what
Piers.
my...
Break the law. That's my question.
Interesting.
My question for you is, why do you continue to break the law?
I don't know. You present things in a very journalistic way, so I don't know.
Well, they're facts.
You say, do it.
Everything I just read you is a fact.
Yes. What facts?
I just read you the facts. I can read them again if you didn't hear them.
Morgan, listen to this. I never hide what I do. I am being interviewed by you and by everyday media people come to this home and to the hills where I establish communities. And I tell what I think and what I do and what I plan. So if there is anything in what is so openly exposed that can be considered illegal?
Well, you're committing
What
more
is illegal
crimes.
in what I do?
You're committing war crimes.
Why? So you are speaking to me now.
Yeah.
You're giving so much time in your program
Yeah.
to a person who commits war crimes.
Yeah.
Why do you do it?
I'm holding you to
What's
account.
the sense?
I'm holding you to account for your war crimes. I'm telling you should stop your war crimes. I'm telling you, you have you have no right to displace millions of Palestinians and kick them out of their homes. You don't have that right.
Morgan, you hope that through your program you will enhance the chance that I will be put to trial? Is this why you give me so much time in your program?
Yeah, I think ultimately you should face a trial. Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it there. I want to play y'all a couple different videos. One, because we kind of were talking about Malcolm X a little bit. I want y'all to hear this video and get his take. Hold on. I'm telling y'all, I just never even thought to look at a Malcolm X video and hear his thoughts on Zionism. Like, I just never connected. To be totally honest, I never researched Zionism like that. So for me, a lot of this entire Zionist movement was focused on like new developments. Like that's my perception of it because I was so ignorant in the area. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know how Jewish people got the land. I didn't know anything about this until really taking a dive into it after the October 7th situation or the massacre, whatever people call it, whatever. After October 7th, I didn't take a deep dive into it, or before October 7th. So let's take a look at what Malcolm X has said, and you guys let me know if it's relatable to today's times.
Are you anti-Semitic?
Anti-Semitic.
You've many of the things that I've read about you, and you've made a mention a couple of times about the Jews and everything, and I'm wondering if you are personally anti-Semitic.
No. How can I be anti-Semitic when the Arabs are half the Muslim world is Semitic? If I was anti-Semitic, I'd be anti-Arab and anti-everything else. No, I think that in this country, there's one mistake that the Jews make. They put themselves in a position where whenever anybody gives an objective analysis of the role that they play, they defend themselves by accusing you of being anti-Semitic.
That sounds pretty consistent with what is happening right now. And notice what he said initially. It was very Kyrie Irving-ish, and I should say it the opposite way. What Kyrie said was very Malcolm X-ish. How can I be anti-Semitic? Do we need to look up at who were the original Semites? What Semites looked like 3,000 years ago? When people like Danielle Weiss, the lady that we just saw, are claiming that they are entitled to the land based on what God promised. So when God made that promise, what did the people look like in? Should I ask ChatGPT? When God made the promise to give land to Israel and to give land to the Jews, what did the Jews look like? I don't care how many 10 Commandments movies we watch on Easter Sunday or whatever other movies we're watching of them trying to portray these beautifully tanned Europeans as being in that region. It wasn't that. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. And what did Malcolm finish off by saying? It seems like every time you criticize or bring about a question, you're being labeled as anti-Semitic. And just to y'all point, I've never been called anti-Semitic. I don't know if I was going to say I'm very proud of that. I'm not anti-Semitic, obviously, but I've never been called anti-Semitic to my face or in these chats. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not challenging things enough. I don't know. But yeah. This is so Unc wrote, nephew, you're fighting a losing battle because today's people are mostly displaced people from Germany, Poland, Austria, even France that populate the nation of Israel. Maybe Unc, I may be fighting a losing battle, but the battle is not to get any land back. The battle is not for me to sit here and go get a stock of ammunition and guns and start taking back America from Europeans who took it and their ancestors who still live on here. That's not my battle. That's the battle that we're looking at from afar of other people having, of Israel having. That's not the battle that I'm having. I'm not searching for that. I'm not searching for any level of get back. Matter of fact, I hope in me calling out a lot of these things that I'm calling out and how crazy and radical and insane it sounds like when you have women like her on here saying that she's entitled to land by God, I'm actually doing the opposite, I would hope. I don't know. I hope I'm doing the opposite. And so Unc said, no, that's not what I meant. By saying that it's a losing battle is that it's only objective minds would understand what your thoughts are on this. No, I don't even disagree with what you're saying, because we have to be very careful in the battle that we choose. Because if we're trying to make people thank you, if the battle is for us to be solving a problem or influencing people, you're 100% right. But it doesn't mean that we are allowed to stop doing it. It doesn't mean that if kids are misbehaving or if I'm a parent and my parents still tell me, you should, just the other day, you shouldn't be riding your bike at night. And I'm like, yeah, I know. With no helmet. With no helmet. You shouldn't be riding your bike at night. My dad texted me that. And you found it. And is he right? Absolutely. Am I going to stop riding my bike at night? I don't know. But does that mean that he should stop telling me just because? No, my dad is going to keep telling me. Like my dad continuously tells me stuff because he cares about me. So we shouldn't base whether or not we decide to speak on something that we believe is right based on how other people will receive it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the point that I'm making. But to your point, I agree with you 100%. The things that I'm saying, the things that you say, the things that we all say, we have to be very realistic with expectations. We have to be very realistic with expectations because it can teeter on the edge of delusion and compromise our mental health, to be totally honest, because you can get frustrated to a point, and I've probably been there before, where you want people to just see things how you're seeing and believe what you're seeing. Like, yo, it's clear as day. Like, y'all can't. And you get so frustrated that they won't buy into it, that it can drain you and take a serious toll on you. So I think we have to be very careful in our expectations and understanding, like, hey, this may be a long-term play. It may happen quickly. But either way, I'm just doing what I believe is aligned with my purpose of what would be the godly thing to do. So it's on whatever timing that it decides to happen on. Burnt out. Yeah, definitely burnt out. Ant said, are you on a bike path? No, I'm in South Beach riding to Whole Foods, man. I was just getting some lemonade. What else did I get from Whole Foods that day? I just wanted lemonade and water. Yeah, that's all. And I was eating late, so I wanted some buns for this vegan sausage that I had. And by the way, the Whole Foods in South Beach, they don't have any like hot dog buns. Like it's just all the white bread. They don't have any. Neither here nor there. Y'all know me. I'm getting sidetracked. It's the ADD. So Steve wrote, when a group can't be questioned without extreme and immediate fallout, that's a sure sign that you're going against the narrative. Whew. Put a stamp on it, Steve. Put a stamp on it. When a group can't be questioned without extreme and immediate fallout, that's a sure sign that you're going against the narrative. This is exactly what we're seeing. Remember when I said why Trump's getting so mad? We know when you can't question the Epstein stuff anymore, you can't question the fact that they were saying, it's like, whoa, Trump, now you're going along with the narrative. We saw you as the guy pushing against the narrative for so long, standing for the people, right? Now you're going along. All right. You guys are absolutely right. Yo, how did I know Ant? How did I know Ant was going to say something about the paws and the sausage and the buns? It's crazy, man. This is what we do with men. We always look for buns for. Nah, let me stop. Come on, Ant. You bringing me down a bad path. All right, so let's move on to the next video. What did I have? I think I already pulled up. So a lot of us wondered, where is all this coming from? How is all this happening? And I never want to, and this is why hopefully it came across earlier, I don't want to escape as an American our responsibility in all this and how we played a role. So I want to play this video. Who is this? Is it Sachs? Is it Jeffrey Sachs? Let me make sure that I have the right person. Jeffrey Sachs. Is this the person? Yeah, so it's Jeffrey Sachs. Listen to some of the things that he says about these destabilization efforts in the Middle East and who's responsible for it. Because I'll be totally honest with y'all. If I was an Israeli, whether Jewish, whatever, if I was living in Israel and I was an Israeli citizen, I would almost be looking at the United States like, why are y'all feeding into this? Because a whole lot of Israelis do not agree with what's going on in Palestine. A whole lot of Israelis do not want to radicalize all of these people around them and to create more radicalized enemies. So they're probably looking at America saying like, yo, y'all need to stop. Like, it's almost like, let's say you have somebody that's an addict. They're addicted to something. And the parents of the kid, they're saying like, yo, nah, we're going to make sure that this house doesn't have any things that may trigger your addictions in it. But then they got an uncle or an aunt that's giving them either the money for what they're addicted to, or they're supplying them with the drugs that they're, whatever it is. That's how a lot of these people living in Israel probably thinking like, yo, why is America doing this? Y'all are trying to gas us up. Yo, I didn't even think about this before. America is gassing Israel up to get involved in all these wars that America's profiting off of, while America can sit back, comforts of America, knowing we the big bad wolf, knowing that none of these countries going to try us, knowing that even if Iran does do a strike, y'all better call us in advance so we can clear our people out, and we'll let y'all know. We'll give you the green light on when you can drop your little bomb, whatever, your little weak strike. That who knows even if you really did hit us. You know what I'm saying? That's what, yo, is that what's really happening right now? If I was an Israeli citizen, I'd be pissed off at America like, yo, stop giving us these guns and supplying us with all this stuff to do your dirty work. Because I think it's clear that America is making a lot of money because damn, hold on. What if it's different than what I initially was thinking? Where my fear with the whole Epstein thing and Epstein's connection to Mossad and possibly Israeli intelligence, my fear was based on Israel running America. But what if it's American powers that are saying, nah, we need Israel over there to do our dirty work? But I never looked at it like that. Yeah, you may have said it, but you didn't break it down. You feel me? You got to break it down so people can digest the information. She ain't say it like that. But all right, let's go. Let's move on with this video. I want y'all to take a look at this. Jeffrey Sachs had some interesting things to say.
And where this entire war came from. It did not come from Bashar al-Assad. It came from Washington. There was a decision in 2011 to overthrow Assad. Actually, that came.
You see that power flex? She just came in the background talking about, yeah, I shouldn't have said that on this show. Yeah, you shouldn't have. I'm just joking. No, you should have. What you mean? This is an open show. This is an open mic. A safe place for everybody to express exactly what their feelings are, to call out. Yeah, you probably did mention it to me before, but with new information, I may have just received it differently. So that's what happens. That's what happens, and we all entitled to that.
Not come from Bashar al-Assad. It came from Washington. There was a decision in 2011 to overthrow Assad. Actually, that came from Jerusalem. This has been a desire of the Israeli government that stretches back more than 25 years. Netanyahu's idea is make the Middle East in Israel's image, overthrow every government that opposes Israel. He's had a friend in that, and that is the CIA and the United States government. So this war in Syria did not come from Assad's repression. It did not come from Assad's dictatorship. This war came from a presidential order by Obama to overthrow Assad, starting in the spring of 2011. We have a name for this program. It was Operation Timber Sycamore. The United States, together with other countries in this region, trained fighters, especially jihadists, including the ones that just took power, to overthrow the regime. This created chaos. 600,000 dead in Syria in a war that has gone on for 14 years. The outcome of this war is what the CIA wanted back in 2011, which is that a jihad group would take power in Syria after being armed by the United States. The reason I want...
That seems to be a reoccurring theme with, I believe that it came out that Netanyahu was indirectly or directly or wanting to finance Hamas to create destabilization. I believe that when we went over the manifesto from Osama bin Laden, that some of the bin Ladens had relationships with people in the United States. It seems to be a reoccurring thing where a lot of these quote unquote terrorist groups, where if you trace back their history, it seemed like they got funding from a lot of the people that are 10 years later calling them terrorists and looking for reasons to kill them. This happened with Saddam, I believe. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Being armed by the United States. The reason I want to be clear about this is that we will not have peace in this region until we have public diplomacy that is based on real diplomacy, not on CIA operations. And we will not have peace until Israel stops its militarization of the entire Middle East. Because the Syrian war is just one of 6 wars that Israel has promoted, including in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Somalia, and Sudan. We had the list, actually, from Wesley Clark back in 2001, when he was handed a paper in the Pentagon that the goal was 7 wars in 5 years. The only war that hasn't taken place yet, to Netanyahu's great consternation, is the U.S. war with Iran, which Israel is still trying to instigate to this very day. So the Syrian war is part of a regional tragedy. We have tragedy in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Sudan, South Sudan, and Libya that I put at the hands of the United States government and its ally Israel. Because None of these wars had to happen. These were all wars of choice. They were all wars that came from the idea of regime change operations, that the United States would determine which regimes operate in which countries. We'll never have peace in this region if outside imperial powers like the United States are dictating the terms to this region. The only way to have peace in this region is if this region is determining its own future, not outside powers. And Israel could never do these wars on its own. These are American wars. America provides the financing, it provides the military backup, it provides the naval support, it provides the intelligence operations, it provides the munitions. Israel couldn't fight for one day without the United States backing. Israel could not be committing a genocide in Gaza without the United States' full operational complicity. I don't mean political complicity, I mean direct, daily operational complicity. This has to end. This region has been divided for 100 years, first by the British Empire and then by the American Empire. And this is going on until today. We have a genocide going on right next door. Till today, till this morning. People being wantonly killed, brazenly killed, because the United States is providing the means for this.
And it just makes you wonder when you hear that, okay, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they never asked for a ceasefire. Obviously, Trump seems like he's getting bullied by whoever is trying to push for more war in that region. When the Democrats and Republicans agree on certain things, it's almost like that's what worries you. You saw that the Democrats didn't want to unveil the Epstein files. Trump and the Republicans were calling out for it to be, hey, we got to have transparency on this. But then Trump now, he's calling it a hoax, calling it. It's like when y'all tend to agree on stuff, even though that should be what we look at and say, oh, you know, this is good. There's some common ground. But knowing how despicable and how slimy our politicians are, I believe it should make us all wonder and perhaps be not necessarily fearful, but a bit more observant and look into it a bit more when now you see both of these parties moving the same way for something. And this whole destabilization, and when we're looking at when he mentioned the 7 wars in this area, and now they want Iran, and they're always trying to have a regime change. America getting involved in international affairs, countries that have nothing to do with you, doing to other countries what if some country did to us, it would be considered an act of war. It's like, isn't this what would happen? Like, we see this all the time in real life, on TV shows, where you have somebody who's, let's say they're big time drug dealer. They're trying to sell drugs in the neighborhood. What do? They come in and they try to get the groups that are already there to fight against each other, so that way they weaken each other and create a need for themselves, right? To create an opportunity for whichever group wants to align themselves now with them. Now that's their way in to now where they can bully their way into taking over the entire operation. Is this exactly what's happening in the Middle East? And I was going to say, like, figuratively, metaphorically, what's happening. But then when you hear about what the Afghan war, I believe that was the Afghan war. What was it, Maya, the one that was supposedly over the poppy seeds? Did American troops protect poppy fields in Afghan war? Wasn't there, like, I know Candace Owens was talking about how the Afghan war was over the poppy seeds.
Heroin.
Yeah, so let me in Afghanistan. So let me show y'all something real quick.
Well, they made farmers plant like kill their crop and plant poppy instead.
So they made farmers kill their crop.
Not
Okay.
made. They told farmers, if you don't stop planting, say, corn or whatever you're planting, and you plant poppy seed instead,
All
they'll
right.
like leave you alone.
All right. So take a look at the screen. It says, yes, American troops did protect poppy fields at times during the war in Afghanistan, particularly in the early years after the U.S. invasion in 2001. However, this issue is complex and layered with strategic, political, and ethical dimensions. Of course it's complex and layered, right? It can't just be about protecting just poppy fields, especially when we got this opioid crisis in America. Afghanistan has long been the world's leading producer of opium derived from the poppy plant. I was today years old when I found that out. I was today years old when I found out that Afghanistan has long been the world's leading producer of opium. I did not know that. The opium trade became a major source of revenue for local warlords and the Taliban, helping to fund insurgency and corruption. I thought it was just over oil. Wow. In certain regions, especially Helmand province, U.S. and NATO forces were ordered not to destroy poppy fields early on in the war. The rationale: destroying crops would alienate local farmers and push them toward the Taliban. The priority was winning the hearts and minds over aggression, eradicating. Look at that. Look at the rationale. Destroying crops would alienate local farmers and push them toward the Taliban. So that's your rationale. But then you think that by destroying all of Palestine, that you're not radicalizing those people. No, you are protecting your poppy seeds. Look at them try to act as if this is wild. Hey, we don't want to alienate the local farmers, so let's not destroy their poppy fields. And we probably really bought into that. This is wild. When Candace Owens said this, I kind of didn't even look into it. I was like, oh, maybe it's true. Maybe she's exaggerating a little bit. This is wild. America. We got some explaining to do, man. We got some explaining to do. There's a reason why other countries can't stand us. There's a reason why. There is a reason why. America, we got our hands in a whole bunch of stuff. We try to act as if we got the utmost standards, but in all actuality, we're just trying to control. It sounds like, based on my takeaway reading this, sounds like we're always just trying to control, whether it's drugs, whether it's oil, whether it's whatever else, trafficking of sorts. It seems as if not that we have a problem with the drugs or the trafficking. It seems like we just want to control it and make sure that we're the ones making money off of it. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. Let's get back to the video, though. Y'all tell me if I'm looking at it a little wrong, if I'm looking at it wrong. Y'all tell me. Unc said, oh, so your eyes are open now. I'm just learning this stuff. Do you know how much pharmaceutical drugs are made with that heroin? I had no idea that Afghanistan was the largest producer of poppy, of opium. Was anybody else? Hold on. Did everybody else notice? Or is anybody else just as surprised as me? Because if I knew this, then I would have had my eyes open to what's going on. Like, I already thought it was about them just controlling the region, but now we know exactly why. Think about it. Wow. The healthcare industries, these drug producers that sell our people drugs, that control our mainstream media, some of the most powerful people in the world and biggest influences in America, they need what's being produced in Afghanistan. And America conveniently decides to go to war with. Damn. Ant said it right here. So the Middle East has oil and poppy. Of course they need freedom. Damn. Wow. Let's keep going. Wow. Steve said, absolutely. I know some folks that were protecting those big red poppy fields during the war. This is crazy. Let me ask y'all this. Do we think that most Americans are aware of this? Because I don't think that the average American is aware of this. Or maybe I'm just in my own bubble. I don't know. This is a perfect example of what I said the other day when Candace Owens, which I wanted to review today, which it looks like we may not have time, when I said that Candace Owens was in a conversation with Nick Fuentes and had no idea that Moors were in control of Europe for like 700 years. But when Nick Fuentes said, yeah, what have black people, black Africans, they've never contributed to anything. They have never had their own written language, all these different things. And Candace Owens just kind of sat there because she was so blind in that area. There's a lot of blind spots. There are a lot of blind spots. I never saw this. And speaking on those blind spots, real quick, something that I didn't mention when I was talking about Malcolm X. Another thing that Malcolm X brought about is there's a written, it wasn't a speech. There was a paper that he wrote called Zionist Logic. And I think it may make sense for a lot of people to go back and listen to, or go back and read that, because a lot of the logic was based on the same things that we talk about right now on this show. He was saying, and he even mentioned the Moors. He said, should the Moors go back to Spain? Or he was drawing that connection. I don't want to say word for word that he was encouraging that, but he was saying that the same logic that Jewish people use, the Zionists use to establish Israel, could be the same logic that Moors use to go back and take the Iberian Peninsula, I believe he mentioned, and go conquer Spain. So it was just more like, damn. Wow. Unc said, this is funny because this is true. What do they call a person that speaks 2 languages? Okay. What do they call a person that speaks 3 languages? Glad you know that now. What do they call a person that speaks 1 language? American. That's a fact. Because I'm going to tell you how limited our education is. I did not learn about any European history growing up in high school. The most education that I had on history was at private school. When I went to private school in 8th grade, and then I went to private school for a year after I graduated high school. I did a postgraduate year. That was the most extensive history courses that I had. Other than that, in public school, and it's such a shame. History should be history should be longer than a lot of these other classes, in my opinion. At least right now, I really think that, based on how they're offering math and science and English and that stuff now, history should be given like twice as much time as those classes. But the fact that we have so many boring history professors, and I don't know whether they think that they're handicapped based on the curriculum and stuff, but this should be so engaging. I remember when I was substitute teaching at the Renaissance School, Rand at Renaissance, whatever they're calling it, a school in Montclair where I grew up, and this professor, Professor Jackson, and this was the most engaged I'd ever been in a history class, where he made one point, and this is what maybe sparked, or it didn't spark it because I was already on this type of time, but this is what he just said. He said he looked at the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance, and he said, would Jewish people ever pledge allegiance to a German flag or a Nazi flag? And everybody said no. And he said, so why do Black Americans, and he's talking to a class of like, I think this was 8th graders. Yeah, this is a class of 8th graders. He said, so why do Black Americans pledge allegiance to that? And he pointed at the American flag. And I was just sitting there like, yo, like, bro. Like, and I was just so shocked that he even said that. But these are the engaging conversations, whether you believe it or not, whatever your stance is, this is how history should be taught. But history is neglected in American public school system. So parents, do a better job. Communities, we got to do a better job of educating, because we get misled in so many different ways just by not understanding what has already happened. We get misled by not understanding people's intent just by us not knowing the history of certain things. So let's keep going. Let's keep going with this video. I think we're almost done with it.
So this is what's happening in Syria. Is the U.S. on the fence? Hardly. It's the major actor. I know, by the way, I know firsthand that in 2012, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon appointed former Secretary General Kofi Annan as special envoy to reach a peace in Syria. I loved Kofi Annan. I love Ban Ki-moon. I worked for both of them. Kofi Annan arranged a peace in 2012. He arranged a peace in Syria. You know why it didn't happen? Because all the parties agreed to peace except one. Literally one. That was the United States of America. The United States of America said there will be no peace unless Bashar al-Assad goes the first day. The other parties said, no, you can't just determine that. Maybe there'll be a process. Maybe there'll be elections agreed. Maybe there'll be a 2-year process, a 3-year process. The United States said, no, Assad must go the first day of any agreement or we block it. And so Kofi Annan stepped down from his position after having negotiated a peace arrangement. And we have had 500,000 people dead since then. We should not allow this kind of criminality to be normal. This region has been at war nonstop for 30 years. Actually, I would say for at least 57 years since the Six-Day War, because there has been no honest accounting of international law, no honest diplomacy. It's been militarization all the way through. And we could have peace immediately in this region. All that is required, in my view, is the United States change its veto of Palestine as the 194th UN member state, because on that basis, all the region would normalize relations and the wars all across this region would stop. But Israel has had control over US policy, and it says no. It wants greater Israel. It wants Israel in Syria. It wants Israel in Lebanon. It wants Israel in the West Bank. It wants Israel in East Jerusalem. It wants Israel in Gaza. And until that stops, we're not going to have peace. So is the U.S. on the fence? Of course not. It's the major protagonist of this whole war and has been for the last 14 years.
Man. Man. Dang, I didn't get to a whole bunch of stuff. Let's finish off with, man, it's hard to move on to anything else after that. But let me see. All right. So some of the, let me watch this transition real quick. All right. So how do they radicalize people? How do they distract us? How do they get us to focus on one thing or another? is to see America and to see politics as two different parties. If they see us as the Democrats versus Republicans, that's the only fight that we'll engage in, because that's the one that we feel like we're most closely associated with. Meanwhile, we won't pay attention to what's going on outside in different areas. So, and let me make sure that I'm gonna bring up an example of some of the things that may be enforced as distractions and how we get caught up in fighting that battle rather than looking at this battle of humanity, where we focus so much on America, where we think that the world is literally revolving around America, where we ignore the impact and the evil that we are spreading to other areas. So let me catch up with Ant's comments real quick, because Ant said, when you start to realize that America is an idol built to worship money, things start to make more sense. I agree. I agree, bro. I agree. Let me show y'all this clip very quickly. I want to show y'all this clip. Joy Reid, and hold on. Let me show y'all this clip. And I kind of want to. Okay. Let me do this. Which one do I want to go with? This whole division. Let me show y'all this video first. This division is stoked in a bunch of different ways. Before I show you what's a part of the distraction, let me stick on what Unc is talking about as far as the divide and conquer that I believe is happening. And then I'll have the video to show y'all with what is, in my opinion, being seen as some of the things that are put in front of us to distract us rather than focusing on what the main goal should be. All right, let's keep going. Let's go here, and then I got you. Where is it?
The damage to Gaza's only Catholic church after it was struck by Israeli artillery. The building still standing, but church officials say 3 people were killed. 2 of them buried today, their funerals at the neighboring Greek Orthodox church. As they were leaving after finishing their prayer, they were targeted, said this man who was sheltering in the church. The strike prompting a call and criticism from President Trump.
What is the president's reaction to that church coming under fire?
It was not a positive reaction. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning to address the strikes on that church in Gaza.
The IDF says fragments from a tank shell fired nearby hit the church mistakenly. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying Israel deeply regrets that its stray ammunition hit Gaza's Holy Family Church. Every innocent life lost is a tragedy. We share the grief of the families and the faithful. Among the lately injured was the parish priest, Father Gabriele Romanelli. It was Father Romanelli who the late Pope Francis called every day in the months before he died to check up on the church and the tiny Catholic community here as it kept its faith under fire. Tonight, Pope Leo calling it a military attack on the church and saying he was deeply saddened, and he renewed his calls for an immediate ceasefire.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay.
Who knows what to believe, especially when we talk about divide and conquer. Real quick, can you see what's going on with Tesla? Because it just went up a little bit, $10. Yeah. So I can inform everybody on what's going on with Tesla. In case I need to, yeah. All right. Y'all see what's going on. You see that, do we believe it was a stray? And it's very funny that Trump had to call up Netanyahu. I don't know if y'all peeped that, but if Israel commits a strike against the only Catholic church in Gaza, wouldn't that be something that you would think Netanyahu would be first to reach out to Trump and say, hey, yo, this was a mistake. We didn't mean to do this. It seems like everything's being played, like everything. Well, if you say this, then I'll say this, but I need to look like I'm strong here. So make sure you say this. It seems like that's the constant back and forth. And I don't know who's pulling the strings. I don't, but like I said, it's almost like we have to filter everything that's being presented to us. What's real, what's fake, what's legit, what is fake news, what is something that Trump really believes, or what is he just being forced to say, all these different things. But take a look at this Joy Reid video. This is the one that I wanted to finish out on. So this is a video of Pearson Joy, and I want to show this as one of the things that perhaps we have been distracted with. And when we sit back and wonder why a lot of this stuff is happening, why we're pushing certain agendas, like with a lot of the woke ideologies, what if this woke ideology was just to confuse us or to just prepare us for bigger plays in other areas? Where when we sit back, and we always talk about it, and even what I said earlier, when I said it's almost like now, based on the Democrats and the Republicans being so radicalized and hating each other and only agreeing on certain things that don't seem to make sense, but the things that make sense, they disagree on and they fight each over it. It's almost like you have these situations, whether it's men playing in women's sports, boys and girls, and different things with like the LGBTQ, the little books that are being read to school. And the majority of Americans, I believe, agree on this stuff where, hey, like, all right, it's going too far. Even the majority, I'm going to show y'all a video in a few where I believe even the majority of gay Americans who fall into the LGBTQ category would agree on some of this stuff. Maybe not they try to lump everybody in the same category. So I definitely think the LGB would agree on it. But let me show y'all this real quick just to get your thoughts. Hold on.
They report earnings next week, and I think people are just predicting that they're positive.
Oh, with Tesla? Okay. All right, that's good. All right, take a look at this video, and you guys tell me what your thoughts are. My fault, I had like a brain fart.
Fascinating to me that you think it's important that I care what Donald Trump says about me. It's a badge of honor. If he dislikes me, then I think I'm doing something right. I have zero respect for Donald Trump, and therefore, if he feels the same way about me, then the feelings are quite mutual, and I'm very, very proud of that and happy with it.
Okay, I want to play a clip. This is you talking about, you attacking parents. You spoke out about their concerns about gay and paedophilia pornography books being placed in school libraries.
The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
Now, there's also a second clip. This is you talking about Republicans exploiting concerns by minors who identify as transgender. And you said this was an old age tradition which Nazi Germany did. Let's take a look.
In fact, there are more kids who have been exposed to gun violence, estimated at 3 million, than there are transgender Americans of all ages in total. Targeting trans people isn't new. It is an age-old tradition, which Nazi Germany did with brutally violent ends in the 1930s.
We don't even need to focus too much more on that. I'm going to play the next clip for you guys. That was an Instagram post. So clearly that was something that was being pushed over the last couple of years, right? We could all acknowledge that. It was something that was being pushed. And it was something that the majority of Americans would sit back and just wonder, like, why would this be something that's being pushed? And if you guys want me to finish the other video, then I'll definitely finish it. But what I wanted to highlight was, is this just another distraction? Because look at what's now going on in Barnes & Noble. Shout out to Shy. She sent me this.
We're gay, but we're in Barnes & Noble's, and there's a kids book section, a gay kids book section, and this shit is crazy. Look at this. Okay, there's the gay BCs, right? Bye Bye Binary. Bye Bye Binary with a mohawk on a baby. Gay BCs You're not ready. You hold this. Okay. What? A is for arrow and ace. B is for bi. This is crazy. We're gay, but this is crazy. What? For a baby? Okay, E is for equality. We'll take that. F is for family. Okay, we're getting better. Okay, why did it start so crazy? H is for hope. It got better. I is for intersex. It's pushing it. For a baby, this is pushing it. J is for joy. J is for joy. We'll take Tio and Tio. That looks nice. Forgot this one. K is for Kiki. Oh wait, I guess there's no gay word for M. Okay, we're gay, but
is this just a distraction? Is this just a distraction? Why when the majority of Americans agree on something, it's like the political parties, they choose to have their biggest fight on it. But when the political parties agree on it, it's like they're trying to hide something. And shout out to Pam Mulatto, Pam Mulattoism, boycott Barnes and Noble. Welcome to the show. And my apologies. There was somebody that made a comment about an hour ago in the show, and they were new, and I did not acknowledge them. So my apologies. What I'm going to do is I'll go back when I rewatch the show and definitely show you some love in the comments. If you're still here, definitely appreciate all the new people. Like, subscribe, turn your notifications on as well. But this is definitely reason enough for me to boycott Barnes & Noble. I'll be totally honest. And I'm one of those people that, Maya, what do? Instead of ordering the book online, I go to Barnes & Noble to purchase it. I go to Barnes & Noble to purchase it just because I hate the fact that a lot of these Barnes & Nobles are going out of business. They're suffering because of Amazon and a lot of these other companies that just provide the books. You know, they don't need the margin or they don't need the overhead of having a store. They could just send you the books. You get it in a day or two. But I just think that it's important for us to have bookstores. And I also think that Barnes & Noble needs to do a better job of adjusting, right? You can't be just the old Dunkin' Donuts and be mad that Starbucks is coming into town. You can't be Panera Bread and be mad that Joe and the Juice and Pura Vida are coming. You have to make updates. You have to adjust to make your store be appealing. You can't just be Blockbuster and just be annoyed that nobody's renting. Figure out a way to get people to come. I don't know. Figure it out. But I don't think this is the way to figure it out. I don't think that the majority of Americans are okay with, like, this is babies. Like, why are we trying to influence baby books with sexuality and just different roles and stuff like that? Like, why do they need to be aware of this type of stuff? There's somebody pushing this. And while I was showing y'all the video, I went and looked at ChatGPT and asked if Barnes & Noble received funding from any of these LGBTQ organizations or something. This just seems like something that George Soros threw a lot of money behind. Barnes & Noble, they're going out of business. But wait, we can figure out a way to influence people. We can work with Barnes & Noble. Let's just give them some money. They need it. They'll put out. It just seems like that. So ChatGPT said that they haven't seen anything, that any of these organizations have not been providing Barnes & Noble with funding. So I don't know, but I do think that is something that we all look out for. So let me go ahead and end this show. I believe my dad's got a tea time at around noon, and I don't want to make him late for his tea time. You feel me? My dad be locked in on the show, making sure I don't say anything crazy, probably. So we're going to let him get ready for his tea time. I couldn't play with him today because I just got a whole bunch of stuff going on, but I do need to make sure that I get out with him soon on the course. But yeah, we're just going to leave it there. We're going to leave it there. Let's wrap it up. I watched the little red vending machine topple the Blockbuster giant. Word, like, how y'all just let them come in and bully y'all like that? Like, oh man. Sad to say, but this is the type of thing that is straight up grooming kids to be sexualized as early as possible. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. So I just don't know what the reasoning is behind this. And what does for like a lot of my, like how my mind works is I start getting in conspiracy theory mode where even what I said earlier, where it's like, okay, now with the whole Epstein thing, are we going to start justifying all this stuff? Or what are we going to start doing? And is this going to be something that's being pushed? And then now it's like, well, let's just try to sexualize the kids as early as possible. So then we're not looking at it the same way we do. I don't know. It's just weird energy. It's just weird. All right. But let's kind of do what we do at the end of every show. For those that are new, at the end of every show, we take 45 seconds, meditate, manifest, decompress, get your breath work in, do whatever it is that you need to do to end the show. So by the time that we're done, you have the right mindset to hopefully complete the task and the goal that we set out in the beginning of the week. Y'all know every Sunday and Monday, what's that goal? To make this our greatest week ever. So let's take those 45 seconds. You give yourself whatever it is you need for these 45 seconds. If you're in a safe place, feel free to close your eyes. If you don't want to, then that's on you as well. But just take 45 seconds. Maybe just be still. Maybe just be still and see what sets in and what comes to your mind. Or maybe you have an issue a challenge that's been you've been facing, that you're looking for some clarity on. Maybe ask the universe for some clarity to come your way. Whatever it is, do whatever it is you need to do. 45 seconds. We'll start those 45 seconds now. And wait, before we start our 45 seconds, y'all know what we do. Every exhale, we're exhaling the negative energy. Every inhale, we're inhaling positive. So eventually, what are we doing? We're putting out, and I got to be careful with my words with Ant on here, and receiving good energy. You're putting out good energy and you're receiving good energy. So 45 seconds. Let's start now. All right, let's get one last exhale. Exhale on all the negative. So where we get all the negative out of our body. That one last exhale. Inhaling all the positive. I smell mushroom, plant-based bacon in the background. Bub is cooking. It's going to be a great day, all right? Y'all know what we come here to do. Elevate on purpose. Vote from an intentional standpoint, raising our standards to become the best leaders we can become that we need now more than ever, as well as to grow into the people that we need to grow into in order to have a chance. We just want a shot. We just want the opportunity to accomplish these outlandish, sometimes maybe perceived as arrogant, but these amazing goals as we strive to live in our purpose and go towards that purposeful abundance, all right? When we say what's in our bag, what do I mean by saying what's in our bag? All the things that are going to align with our purposeful abundance, right? As we strive for the right trajectory to make sure that we're doing all the little things that aren't really little things, but all the things throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year that are going to align with the big goal, the big P purpose. All right. As we consider what impact we're going to make on this world as we strive for that personal legend. All right. Onward and upward, strength and honor in everything we do. You got to decide what's in your bag. The things that are in my bag: peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and in everything we do, integrity. That integrity. All right. It should always be at the forefront of everything that we do, in my opinion. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Hope y'all have a great weekend. I got an announcement for y'all. Wednesday show. We back. We officially back on the Wednesday show. And hold up before y'all leave. Hold up before y'all leave. Where's my phone? Before y'all leave. And hold on, my dad just texted me. What did my dad just text me? Oh, my dad just texted me, no golf today. So we just going to prep get the body right, get the mind right for tomorrow. He'll be back out there. He'll be back out there. Let me hold on. Let me get y'all this link real quick. Because the show on Wednesdays is only on Patreon. It's only available for our Patreon members. And once again, you don't have to be, I got to send this to me. Why isn't it the link not copied? Airdrop it. Let me airdrop it to the MacBook. But it's only on Patreon. Patreon, it's a free membership. All right, it's a free membership. Let me see if I can send y'all the link. Copy this link. Let me, It's a free membership. Ant is signed up. He gets all the exclusive stuff because he got the paid membership. So we got to make sure that we amping that up, bub. Getting some real dope exclusives for Ant. You know what I'm saying? Ant put the bread up. But like everybody, it's a free membership. All right, just tap in. And if you ever see fit to where you want to upgrade. It's cool. It's not a big deal. All right, y'all know what we on. We on purpose over profits. You feel me? But we do need the profits, but we'll figure that out on the back end. We just rather focus and prioritize the purpose rather than doing it on the flip side. So on that note, I already hit y'all with the strength and honor, the onward and upward. What's in my bag? I'll see y'all. Y'all have a great weekend. And if anybody needs anything, if anybody's struggling with anything, challenged by anything, one of the things that we may end up doing, we've been locked in, Maya and I, we have a great relationship with my big bro and big sis, Shaga and Pete. We do a lot of things with the Baha'i faith with them where they introduce us to a lot of the concepts. And it just works for us. It's very practical things. We're getting ready to take this to learn about like what they have to go through before they get married. They have to go through this process. So we're learning more about it, So a lot of people, if you guys are interested in that, we may incorporate some of that into the Patreon as well, because it's always good when we can hear about and learn about relationships and learn about anything through people that are actually successfully doing them. Y'all know what I'm saying? Y'all know I love to talk about relationships, but you gotta talk to at least people that are already in it. Like we can ask questions, but that's one of the dope things that I get from them. So yesterday I went over there, and I will share them information, because overall, and this is the thing with the Baha'i faith, you don't have to, it's not about converting from whatever religious or spiritual beliefs that you already have. They actually believe that all of it is one anyway. So it's just more about, it's funny, they said yesterday that they don't even like certain people in them, they don't like using that word Baha'i. It's just people, saying it's because once you use the word, it kind of just, y'all see this? Y'all see this croissant right here with this plant-based bacon and egg. We got some avocado, you know what I'm saying? But they just believe in everybody working together and just mostly living by that golden rule of treating others the way that they want to be treated. So, Unc, I'll send it to you. Ant, I'll lock you in. And yeah, we'll just start having some dope conversations with that as well. So, on that note, see y'all. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Ant already sent the fire emojis on behalf of Queez. Ant said, have a great week, great people. Steve, big bro, strength and honor, friends. Have a great weekend. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Unc said, a reminder, money can't buy everything. You heard? All right. I'll see y'all soon.